Saint Junípero Serra and the Mission Indians of San Carlos Borromeo. We know the horrible accusations made against Saint Junípero Serra, like this one I received from 2015. Serra's a criminal, should have been hanged. He is a more successful version of Himmler. I've received some pretty nasty comments for defending Saint Junípero Serra. Here's another one. So your continuance of promoting and earning money from this genocide of the Chumash people is one-sided. The killing and raping and other crimes against a nation are plain genocide. May karma bring you back as a serf in the lowest class of Hindu culture, so you can feel the pain of a group of people who have nowhere to go. Stephen Ortiz, Chumash Indian. Facebook comment from March 21, 2018. So, when I was invited to speak to American Indian Catholics at the Tequitquitha conference about Pablo Tac, Mission Indian, seminarian, and scholar, I paused. I had no idea how they would react, having written extensively about Saint Junípero Serra. I was pleasantly surprised. There I met some of the most faith-filled Catholics. Due to priests like Saint Junípero Serra, according to a 2017 CARA report, today approximately 1 out of 5 American Indians are Catholic and make up 1% of the total Catholic population in the United States. My objective today is to give voice to those who are often lost in the controversy surrounding our good friend, Saint Junípero Serra. The voice of Catholic Indians, the voice of the Indians of San Carlos Borromeo de Carmelo. Father Palau describes Serra's great desire to found missions. With a small contingent, Serra set out and came upon the area where Mission San Antonio de Padua would eventually be founded. Serra had a bell set up and rang it furiously, yelling, "O Indians, come to the Holy Church. Come to receive the faith in Jesus Christ." Many in the party thought he was crazy, but Palau continued. When after the gospel, Serra turned to preach, he noticed an Indian present who had no doubt been attracted by the ringing of the bell. At the conclusion of his discourse, Serra said, "I hope through the blessing of God and the intercession of the great Saint Anthony that this mission at no distant day will be inhabited by many Christians, since we see here the first fruits of the wilderness." In 1784, Serra reported on the spiritual growth at Mission San Carlos. Reports were year-to-year overviews of the mission system under his leadership. Mission San Carlos was in the Ohlone, Costanoan region and served the Esselen and Rumsen peoples. 11 native languages were spoken at the mission. These numbers come from the one written 8 weeks before Serra's death. The condition, then, of the mission in things spiritual is that up to this day, in this mission, baptisms 1006, confirmations 936, marriages 259, and burials 356. A decade before that report, Serra wrote the Viceroy, or King's representative in Mexico City, about his concerns about the military and its power. In 1773, he traveled to Mexico City with the young neophyte Juan Evangelista, who must have marveled at the megalopolis of approximately 150,000. After the initial meeting with the Viceroy, Serra was asked to write a detailed list of his grievances, called the Representación. It had 32 articles or points of contention. A concern dealt with the troops and their immoral behavior against native women due to the poor leadership of Padre Pedro Fages, second lieutenant governor of New California. The Viceroy ruled in Father Serra's favor on 30 of the 32 charges brought against Fages, and removed him from office in 1774. From beginning to end, the entire trip took roughly a year. After his return, he wrote a letter to the College of San Fernando in Mexico City dated July 18, 1774. In it, he affectionately refers to the young boy who accompanied him as my Juan Evangelista. Juan Evangelista would marry Tomasa Maria and die on August 9, 1778. Father Serra presided at his friend Juan Evangelista's funeral. Saint Junípero Serra firmly believed that all life has value. An excerpt from chapter 23 of the first rule of St. Francis, dated 1221, reads, quote, "We thank you that through your Son you created us, and that through the holy love of you had for us, you brought about his birth as true God and true man by the glorious, ever Virgin, most blessed Holy Mary." End quote. These words were lived by Serra. On February 26, 1777, Saint Junípero Serra wrote to Father Francisco Pengua, his guardian in Mexico City, describing the native peoples. "They are in places one cannot visit without walking a long distance, and sometimes going on hands and feet. But I put my trust in the Lord, who created them." Though Serra and Pablo Tac were not contemporaries, I am sure Serra would have been overjoyed in the life that Pablo led. Pablo Tac was an early 19th century Luiseño Indian. He was born and raised at Mission San Luis Rey de Francia, located in present-day Oceanside, California. At the age of 10, he left the mission with the beloved Father Antonio Perry and another young neophyte boy, Agapito Amamix. Their destination was Rome. On September 23, 1834, Pablo and Agapito enrolled at Urban College. While a student, Pablo wrote a detailed report on his people before and after the Spanish came, a dictionary of his people's language, a description of other native peoples in Southern California, and recited a poem in his native language to the cultural elite of Rome. His writings are the earliest from a California Indian. His words here remind me of Palau's brought up earlier, Serra ringing the bells, calling the Indians to come learn about Christ. Clearly Pablo Tac did. O merciful God, why didst thou leave us for many centuries, years, months, and days in utter darkness after thou camest to the world? Blessed be thou from this day through future centuries. Pope John Paul II visited Carmel Mission Basilica on September 17, 1987. The September 19th San Francisco Chronicle reported that 2,500 people greeted Pope John Paul II. 30 Indians and 6 pro-abortion demonstrators protested outside. Michael Galvin, an Ohlone Indian and priest of the Diocese of Oakland, said of the visit, "It was a glorious event, important to the native people." There were plenty of public denunciations by American Indians of the canonization reported in the press. Tribal Chief Tony Cerda of the Cosanoan Rumsen Carmel tribe was an exception. He said in 2015, "We wholeheartedly support the canonization of Saint Junípero Serra because he protected our people and supported their full human rights against the politicians and the military with total disregard for his own life and safety." Then there's old Gabriel, seen here, in a Photo from 1889. According to his obituary, he claimed to have been baptized by Junípero Serra and was a devout Catholic. At Mission San Carlos, the evening before Serra's canonization, along with a statue of Serra, old Gabriel's grave was vandalized. According to a September 27, 2015 Monterey Herald article, the vandal or vandals, supposedly angry by Serra's canonization, also vandalized another sacred American Indian object. The reporter wrote, quote, "In the Indian cemetery, paint was splattered on a wooden cross honoring the Indian graves. The word greed was written on the cross." End quote. John Onesino, seen here on the right of this undated photo. I'll end with his words. John, age 31, resident of Carmel Valley and a descendant of the area's first peoples, was interviewed January 19, 1949, by the cause of Junípero Serra. When asked, "Why did the Indians like Father Serra?" he replied, "Because he liked them." It has been an honor sharing the stories from some of the Indians of San Carlos Borromeo de Carmelo with you. Thank you. Saint Junípero Serra and Pablo Tac, Mission Indian, Seminarian, Scholar. Pray for us.